Hello, class. This is Marcos, and this is our week 15 to 16 final video briefing. This will be it. We're now getting ready for our final presentations, and I want to make sure everyone knows exactly what they're doing. We're going to be having a final at my office here at TOTA, and it will be an in-person review session with a little twist. We're going to have Zoom presentations as well on a single computer. The setup will be here in my office, will be the Zoom meeting setup. There'll be a computer set up here for students to one by one meet with two reviewers who will be online from California and Oregon. And you'll go through your presentations by using the Zoom session, opening your file, sharing your screen, and walking it through like any other presentation you give on Zoom. Simultaneously, next door, at the conference room, we're going to be having a room set up with 4 different stations, and we're going to have 4 groups of judges there. We're going to have some professional designers. We're going to have a couple of moms. We're going to have some kids. We're going to have a dad who's also a professional designer. We're going to have a student who was here in this class last year. We're going to have a student who's a professional designer who's been out in the field for 5 or so years. So it should be a really great session. And these are just some images from past in-person pre-COVID events. And also when I had a bigger office, so don't be fooled by the pictures. It's going to be kind of a mini, more compact version of this, but it'll be the same idea. There'll be stations set up where you can sit down next to somebody with a kind of a one-on-one session. Maybe there'll be 2 or 3, depending on your session, but basically you're going to bring up your deck that you're going to prepare that we'll talk about here, and present your deck in this methodical way, and meaning like in a planned strategic way where you talk about all 3 projects. At the same time, you'll have your 2 printed pieces, your books, to showcase like in live, a touchable way. And so the idea will be that you need to have a deck put together that outlines and showcases each of your projects, including your audiovisual book too, which will play on the screen. So this is kind of the spirit of the event. There'll be a lot of energy, and you'll get a chance to, in a quick way, but intimate and detailed way, present your book, your projects, your process, and be able to get feedback from people who don't know anything about your process, or they know about the project. Everyone is familiar with, obviously, with DIRT and have been part of this class in some form or another before. So they're all, well, one was in our class last year, so she's the least experienced, but everyone else has done many of these. And so it'll be great. You're going to get feedback because they're not going to know what you've been through or have seen your books before. So be ready. And the way to be ready is to prepare a PDF that's going to have a well-documented and well-organized system in place. So the way to do that is you're going to present all 3 projects, and you're going to make a Google Slides or a PowerPoint or a Canva document. And the reason for that and not PDF is that you want to be able to have your audiovisual book that you can just play right there on your screen, and without having to exit and go to another screen to go to YouTube or whatever. So it's as seamless as possible. You're going to take your past presentations, you're going to curate them down, edit them down, kind of just finesse them so they're a little more compact and less pages, so that you kind of give the full sense of the process, what your concept was, what your research was, your design process, like some preliminary layouts, and then showcasing your final design, both on the screen and in the case of your books, with a physical book that you can share with them. So the way to do that is the best way to give you an example of that is to actually showcase an example of a past student's presentation deck. And what I'm going to show you now is literally Tasha, who is going to be a judge tomorrow, or not tomorrow, Thursday, is going to be a judge next week. But this is her project from last year, and you've seen some of these pieces as we work this year. But basically, the idea here is you're going to have the same thing we've been teaching all semester, like a good solid presentation, a cover page, a clear title, your name, what it is, that the project is, and you're going to go through, you're going to have some level of just introducing dirt and what dirt is or what the class is about. You don't have to get into that very much, but it should be there. In Tasha's case, she has kind of like a table of contents that showcases what will be talked about in her review. And this is kind of good to do because it's maybe always an easier way to begin the process of talking to somebody you just met, to kind of say, here's, thanks for sitting down with me. Here's what we're going to go through. I'm going to show you 3 different things. Kind of, over explain it so that where you get your cadence and your rhythm and your confidence by saying things that are pretty simple and obvious, like, what are you going to be showing? And then you get into the first project and you start with your baby board book. In Natasha's case, she made these mock-ups. It's not that you have to do this necessarily. And in a way, it's kind of giving away the design right at the beginning. And usually I'm not a big fan of that, but because you're going to be meeting with them and because you're going to have the books in your hand for the live people, it's not like it's a mystery anyway. They're going to see your book. So to start off with some kind of image like this might not be bad, but go right into it and talk about your concept. With the baby board book, you're an author of that book, and make sure you don't gloss over that like it's a big deal. You guys created the story, you created the concept, you created what the whole goal and objective and what you wanted to get out of this book in the interactions between a toddler or an infant, depending on what your book was targeted to. So explain that and talk about the history, like make this as a story, a narrative that you're telling about how you took on this project and what you chose based on what you learned, the insights you gained, the reasons why you ended up with the specific concept that you did, and how that concept translated into a visual experience and a written experience for that matter. So don't sell that short. You guys are authors, designers of a printed baby board book. So make sure you tell that whole story and don't just reduce it down to a design. But speaking of reducing it down to design, you were going to talk about your design, of course, and you're going to showcase your visual inspiration and just quickly show this and connect to the things that actually connect to what you did. So, if there's something on this specific board, say that you were really inspired by the way these letters worked or by the way the illustration was done. Just don't just say, here's my visual inspiration and go on. Like, there should be a reason for it. And you need to make connections to what you're showing. So the same thing you're going to type. Just say why you liked a certain kind of type style and why you picked it. And then in terms of showing the process, showcasing your storyboard, or it could even be some of your preliminary layouts. In her case, it was your storyboard. And if you want to even do a little cheating here and enhance your storyboard a little bit, make the process look a little more thoughtful or figured out than it actually was when you were there, I'm all for it. But then from there, once you kind of set the foundation, then go through your book and showcase each spread kind of in a big, nice format. You might want to put a shadow down here and make it look more like an actual spread. But the key is that you have good, strong visuals that are well designed. Fill up the screen. You have some white space, of course, too. But have it in a way that you can kind of go through and describe what your concepts were. And if you want to read through it with a shorter book like this, that's not a bad idea. And again, it depends on the audience. If you're dealing with the kids who are going to be at tweens, I think they're like 10 and 12 or something like that. Maybe younger, I can't remember anymore. My friend Marco's kids. But depending on how you talk to them, like obviously when you talk to the kids, if they're their own judging group, which I think they will be, then you might want to change your presentation more to be shorter and to be more direct and to be, show the books or read the books to them instead of getting through the whole presentation like it's been set up. I mean, you can go through it, but maybe just know your audience. Meet your person you're talking to. If they say they're a designer, then you got to talk a certain way. If they say they're a design professional but not a graphic designer and they're a mom, like then to talk to her in a different way. So just respond to who you're talking to. So you go through and for sure what you should do is once you go through those kind of quickly, kind of stop at the review of the full book. So here you have every single spread, the cover, the back, and this gives a chance to kind of look at the whole picture and say, yeah, in this book, the result, and talk about your result, talk about your process, talk about how you felt about it, bring it up as a personal level. It's not just a design project. It's something that you took on, and giving your feedback, telling about how you felt about the result, maybe things you think could be better. I wouldn't focus on that too much. I would just say like, you were happy about it and this is why. And then you repeat. So you repeat the same thing with the children's storybook. She starts off with this cool image of it, goes into the concept, shows her visual inspiration, her type inspiration, shows behind the scenes. And this behind the scenes thing is a cool thing, like looking at, the way things are concepted and how they come to life in reality. Like that's really interesting, at least to me. And then you go through and show the whole book. And again, you'll have your live book with you, but go through and talk about what the story is doing and what the characters are about. And always remember, like, connect it back to what your goal was in terms of like what lessons are to be learned. What's the strategy here? You want to have a book that kids will get inspired to imagine more and to be empowered, or if you want to focus on the idea of families interacting and reading together, like remember those bigger goals and repeat those as you present your design. And again, make sure you have the full book, all spreads together. And then next you go to the audiovisual book, you'll repeat the same process again, showcasing a prototype in this case, talking about the concept, showcasing the storyboard and how you went from the book to a different medium, the phone, the audio, the visual. Talk about the goals, about how you wanted to make the animation be in a way where the story became the focus in terms of listening to it, and the visuals were support, or however you want to build that. But talk about that idea, and then make sure you find a way to bring in your story, your MP4 into the presentation like it is here, where it plays on its own.
A Day of Adventure, illustrated by Tasha Zelsky, narrated by Tasha Zelsky.
Now, again, remember when you're finalizing your audiovisual book, make sure you have that part of the narration there. You don't skip that part. Some of you have done it, some of you haven't yet. So make sure you have the panel come up, the interface come up with the text. Make sure you say the title and the credits, yourself or the narrator if it's somebody different, and make sure you have that at the end as well. You end it that way. So the key here now is going to be that you're gonna play it, but you might want to be strategic about what you show and how much attention you think they're going to have. So kind of have places where you might want to start it off and play it longer than I just played it.
Out of the window and see the city, the sun, the sky, and dream of adventures instead of doing her homework or eating her vegetables. Now in a small temple dealt a spirit, who now and then appeared to children to grant them wishes.
So you might want to pause it there and then say, like, and then the story goes, you might want to talk through with the story, and then pick a strategic place. I haven't done that, I'm going to guess, but zoom ahead and then play another part of it.
Flapped out of the alley and into the sky, flying higher and higher until she could see all of Tokyo below her.
And maybe do that a couple of times. Think about it. Every story is different, and maybe even want to, if it's borderline, maybe even ask the person you're showing it to, you want me to play this whole thing, and play it by ear. So it's going to be a little tricky, particularly in the live session next door, because it might be noisy. So play it by ear, but for sure on the Zoom session, that's your time to shine with the digital book, because they're not going to get their hands on the book, but this will be something they can hear much better, and take the time with that to make sure that that's a good experience for those judges online. And then the thing I want to also do with these books is I want to try to get these into their available to them earlier, before our review session, maybe on Wednesday. So what I'm going to do is I'll send an email saying, hey everybody, I'm going to share the audiovisual books with the judges. Please have your final books ready to go, and then I'll take as many as I can and send it to them, and then it's up to them. They may not have time to do that, but maybe there's a chance they'll be able to watch your audiovisual book in full. And if they have, and they tell you they have, then you can kind of not spend as much time playing it to them, but getting their feedback. So the key is that once you're done with that, then the nice way to end it is to then have all the projects in one place that shows your 3 projects. And you end with your thank you page, of course. And once you say thank you and cue that it's over, then you take a step back and you leave it here on this screen. So then when you're talking to the judge and they're giving you feedback, it's right here in front of them. They can just talk about it on the screen, or they can say, hey, let's go back and look at it. But here, at least they can see all 3 projects, and they're not going to like embarrassingly forget the name of your baby board book because it was 2 projects ago. So have this kind of thing ready to go. Doesn't have to be mock-ups. It could just be, covers and layouts. make it work for you. So that's basically it for how this could work. And so spend your time this week putting that together. And I've got everything written out on Canvas. And I put not only Tasha's example here on this link, but I put 4 or 5 others from other students that can show you other examples of how to make your final presentation. We went over many of them in class, but there are others we didn't. And that's on the Google Drive in the resources folder. And also on here is where to post your final decks. But we can see here that on our main page, if you hit final presentations right here, that's where you're going to post your final presentation. Make sure it's there before class begins on Thursday. I don't want you coming here and uploading it while you're here. Like, that's not professional. Come ready. And then as I said, your under class resources, which is right up here, you can see that there's going to be one folder that says final presentation deck examples. And in there are these various PowerPoints and Google slide decks for you to use. And then one last thing is, or a couple more things, but one more last thing is that I'm going to request, once you're done, I want you to gather together all your working files for your audio visual book and put them in a folder and upload them onto your week or part 3 production audiovisual book production folder, this last week's folder. Put a folder in that says working files and upload that, so that any illustration files, any sound files, anything that's After Effects or whatever you used, all those pieces are there, so that if we, in the future, when we're trying to make the app and we want to maybe add something to the narration or adjust something in the motion, like we're able to finesse it, we will reach out to you and let you know if that's happening and what we're doing. But we want to be able to have as much resources as we can. So please do that. And then the last thing is to remember about the class evaluation surveys. Now, you don't have to do it right now, or maybe you've already done it, but I don't mind if you wait till after the last class, because after the last class, you're going to be feeling really good about this class. You're going to be feeling even more better about yourself, because you're going to end up leaving that last session with a lot of accomplishment and with acknowledgement for what you've done, and with this feeling that this work you've been doing, the time and suffering and sacrifice that you've given to this career that we're sharing, this amazing design thing that we're doing as a way of living life and a way of making a living, is paying off. And you've proven in this class that you have the ability to do great things, and that you can do more than you think you can. And to know that you can do more than you think you can is what I wanted you guys to get out of this class. Now you know that. Now you know the secret. It just takes facing up to a challenge, having a process and following through in that process, collaborating with the person you're working with, and then you're able to do much more than you think is possible. So if you can do this, what else can you do? And that's what I want you to leave with. So keep that in mind. We got one more week, so let's not slow it down. Let's not get sloppy. Let's push to the end, make your final presentation as great as possible. You only get one chance to do this kind of thing. Don't think school is going to last forever. You got one more year after this. So relish this last week of the semester of your junior year. I know you got other classes too, so focus on those as well, but this one's important. And please, please do not miss class on Thursday. And if something comes up and I'm not encouraging this, but if something's coming up and you can't make it, there's the Zoom session. So do not show up. You got to have a pretty big experience, a pretty big excuse if you're not going to be able to make it, because this is an important session and I want you to be here. And I'll be sending an email out with the address again and with just details about coming here and how to get here, but most of you have been here before. So I think we're in a good place. But in the meantime, reach out to me during the week. Any check-ins you need, anything you need me to review, just let me know, and I'll be excited to give you one more set of feedback to make sure that you are in the best place for your finals. So also remember, if you haven't updated your postings on Google Drive for your assignments last week, all you have to do is put your MP4 in your final working files. But every other Google folder, there's nothing in there. If you don't put your assignment, the deck that was asked for, you're going to not have all the points you can get. So try to manage that as much as possible. All right, that's it for now, and I'll see you guys next Thursday here at my office. Take care.